Hey folks, another week of AI chatter. Ken, Canon, and Marty are back. We're going to talk about a couple different happenings. Facebook apparently needs way more compute to build the next Llama, whatever. And Old friend Excel is back, included a little bit of Python in it, and I know Marty's happy. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of AI Chatter. Canon's joining us along with Marty. You folks know me, probably tired of hearing me talk about my world, but academic turned data scientist turned consultants. Canon, you go for it.
Yeah, Senior Director of Technology Innovation, entrepreneur turned consultant. Happy to be here.
Cool.
Marty?
Lover of Excel. That's my description for today.
All right, so we're gonna give everybody pause on that. We'll come back to that in a second. But first things first, Facebook comes out. So we've all been watching the mini meltdown in the stock market around some of this AI stuff, and we all kind of knew there was a little bit of hype, but hopefully, I hope personally that it's not all hype. That eventually it's going to come back. But one of those things that suggests that it is going to come back is Facebook announcing that for their next round of model training, they need to double. Is that what the article said, Marty? Double the amount of
like use? 10 times.
10x the use. So Marty, why? Why do you? What's your take? Why do they need so much power?
Oh, simple. Because power means authority. Come on, that's what it's all about. No, I mean they're going from. I think Llama is going from 8 billion parameters to something like 450, and that's just going from 3 to 3.1. I mean, holy cow! With that kind of growth, I don't even want to think about where they're going to be at for Llama 4. And I heard on some other podcasts that I've listened to that some of these the big AI companies like your Metas, they got cash to spend, and what better place to put it than invested in technology? So they're a little bit cash heavy, and they're using it to buy up resources. And I mean, maybe the cynic in me, but I wonder if they're trying to corner the market a little bit here and keep the rest of us out of the market.
I mean, out of the market of model training, or just buying?
Yeah, out of model, like you have to use Llama or you have to use OpenAI. You can't build your own foundation models. Which, again, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to build your own models, can you afford to spend billions of dollars? I mean, I don't think there's a lot of companies out there that can do that.
Yeah. I wonder. The article I don't think goes into the detail of whether it's the newest Nvidia chips necessary in order to pull this thing off, but I would suspect that it will. And I know Nvidia's stock took a little bit of a hit on the news that their new Blackwell chip had some minor delays. But then I've also heard folks say that's maybe not such a bad thing because they had outshot the market anyway. So, Kenan, any thoughts on that model training power need?
Not on the training itself, but on the cost. What I pulled out of that announcement was the comment that they're not expecting revenue in the near future from their models, right? So to get philosophical for a second, there was a paper written some time ago, and I recently heard mentioned on a podcast that I listened to about Pascal's wager. Are you guys familiar with Pascal's wager?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I'll get this wrong in some sense, but the long and the short of it is Pascal posited many moons ago, French philosopher, that it's a rational bet to believe in God because there's a finite cost with infinite benefit. It's the same thing with these AI companies today. Ken, to your point, these billions of dollars is a drop in the bucket for some of them. So there's a finite cost for potentially infinite benefit in the future.
Yep.
Marty, that goes back to your point of power and authority and central authority, I guess, in that space. And I just thought it was interesting to hear it verbalized in that announcement.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder where they're going to deploy some of these overly complex general models. So far you see it pop up in search boxes and recommendations. I have to believe that there's some different tooling that's going to come from somewhere. Content creation. Specifically in the case of Facebook, you can see in Microsoft's world, they're already scattering it all over their products with some limited success, right? For Copilot-like behavior. Facebook doesn't really have that. Maybe I'm missing. Where else could Facebook use this?
I mean, you're asking how they're going to monetize this and get a return on their investment, right? I mean, I wonder that too. I wonder if some of it's just bragging rights to say, hey, we got the biggest and baddest general purpose model. I wouldn't put it past some of these guys if that's what they wanted to do, because look how much airtime Sam Altman has got. Who knew who Sam Altman was before ChatGPT? Right. I mean, let's be honest. And look, when you've got Zuckerberg level money, this is what kind of is entertaining for you. I think some of this is hubris, really, that they want to be able to say, hey, we got a bigger model, a better model. And by better, I don't even know what metrics they're going to use. There's a lot of argument on what's the right metric to use to determine what's the best model.
It feels like you have to get into a different line of business. And maybe it does. Maybe it lets them get into like legitimately in the corporate space where they're selling chatbot services. Like maybe they decide to expand a little bit. I'm sure their corporate analytics platform offering is far more sophisticated than I know about. Google Analytics type. It's not my space. I don't really know anything about it, but you could easily see Google Analytics go in that direction and building content to support the analytics that they get. So anyway, cool stuff. And then of course the flip of it is that the model training is going to require that juice, but in order to use it, you also need that juice. So you're going to need a whole bunch of machines to even serve up the predictions, which is every time that a more complicated model gets adopted, I almost think like Nvidia just laughing all the way to the bank, right? Because you have to build a bunch of machines to do the inference. You can't. Yep. Marty, you and I, we had this conversation. Canon, you were on it this week too, where we had some internal folks asking about the compute necessary to run the LLMs, and then there was a discussion about a couple models that were not LLMs, that were not big models, and internally they're like, well, why in the world don't we allocate thousands of dollars for that compute? And we said, well, because the math of doing the multiplication is really trivially small, whereas the LLM space, it's really complicated. And so,
it's just massive, because when you have 4 billion parameters or 400 billion parameters, I don't care how good at math you are, that's just a lot of math you have to do. And none of, no XGBoost or, random forest is going to be that big.
Yeah.
Not even close.
All right. So Marty, you've been patiently waiting. I know you're excited to talk about this. I've been on a crusade of the I can't stand the Excel crusade for many, many years now, but I'm giving up.
I'm wearing you down, huh? I'm wearing you down.
Excel, and I guess it's Anaconda put out a Python for Excel set of packages that make it possible to run self-contained Python inside of Excel workbooks and do all the package maintenance and cleanup and all that good junk that you need. So is this a useful tool, Marty?
I'm curious to know how they make it work, because one of the biggest frustrations with coding in VBA and Excel is it's not very fast. And Python isn't much faster, but it gives you access to so much more. I'm wondering, does that mean if I want to write a code snippet in an Excel file in a cell in Excel, do I need Anaconda loaded on my local machine and it's got to spin up a kernel or something like that? I'm wondering how they mechanically got this to work out, because Microsoft generally doesn't like talking to other things. They're kind of private about that. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you could. got to read up a little bit more, whether it's container next to the Excel environment,
Mm-hmm.
and how they exactly manage the guts of it. I like I like the portability idea of being able
Exactly.
to pass data and some analysis. I mean, I don't know, Canon, your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a technical side. I was wondering about the practical business application of the technology. So, um, the first thing I do is get out of Excel as fast as I can, even if it's just into a local Jupyter notebook, right?
Right.
Not to mention, Snowflake or Databricks or anything else like that. Um, and I've wondered about your typical business user. They've got their tools native to Excel today. Are they going to learn Python to accelerate whatever it is they can't do today? I don't know, maybe, but if they do that and it's a repeatable process, why wouldn't they take an extra hour to learn Jupyter notebooks or something similar? I wonder if it's going to move the needle. I think it's nice to have. I can't wait to play with it, but I don't know if it's going to move the needle and save a bunch of time and create a lot of value for the everyday business user.
Yeah, apparently there had been a way to use Excel with a server version of a Python environment, but this is somehow embedded inside.
Right.
So,
It's all local. That's the big thing I got out of that article, is that instead of hitting a server, you can literally just do it on your laptop as long as you have. I'm assuming Anaconda loaded. Canon, I think the people who this opens it up to is, and Ken and I have seen this in a lot of our engagements with clients, is there's a huge number of people out there who use Excel who have either honestly don't even know Python exists, or have no notion of what they have to do to get Python to work on their machine. But they've got Microsoft Office on their machine, and they're happy to do some pretty intricate stuff in Excel. In my prior life, when I worked with a lot of actuaries, they did everything in Excel, but they wanted to do more complicated coding, and Excel just didn't give them, VBA didn't give them the capabilities they wanted. I think now with Python, they don't have to open up Anaconda or learn how a Jupyter notebook works. Not that it's that complicated, but they're in their familiar platform, call it an IDE, if you will, of Excel, of rows and columns, yet they can do more intricate machine, like they can run an XGBoost model. You try to code that up in Excel, VBA would be a nightmare.
It's almost like a short, and we got to see how they serve up the answer. Like if you can put a widget inside your Excel file, but in some sense, you could have, and it's a kind of a mini app deployment system, right?
Yep.
Where a user could query or manipulate some data, certain parameters, drag and like basically copy paste it into this little button enabled Python routine, and they hit the button, and boom, you get a little plotly thing, or maybe even a fully cooked Jupyter notebook. They could live inside it, but just that you could pass around a self-contained Python environment in an easy way, kind of cool, right? That the person doesn't need to install really anything. So,
yeah.
Well,
I agree.
That's attractive. From a commercial standpoint, Excel is still limiting you to 1 million rows of data. That's not that much in today's world. And I think I'm really concerned about this opening up performance issues, because even in Excel, when you get to 250,000 rows, if there's a lot of columns, performance becomes just a drag. And if now you've got to expose yourself to an outside kernel with Python, and we know, I mean, we deal with big data sets, and that's what's beautiful in pandas. Well, they even have polars now where you can do, things beyond what normal pandas can handle, and it does all the multiprocessing. Everything. I don't think Excel's capable of that. I think it's going to frustrate like the industrial users. I think it's going to be more for those people who want to dabble in Python type things, but aren't ready to make a commitment to Anaconda.
Yeah, or a deployment. A deployment. I get 1,000. you've got an anomaly detection routine and analysis that's productionalized this way, and the analyst is responsible for grabbing today's data and then applying the model and all of its stuff on top of it, and it's a lot easier deployment for the Python coder. So anyway, we'll see what's gonna happen. But anyway, fun conversations for this week. And any parting thoughts here, folks? Just pray for a good Nvidia earnings report, I guess. Yours exposed to some people on this.
Yeah, we want the Magnificent Seven to do well because they got crushed.
Exactly. If you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. All right.